was like,
okay, you can go ahead and start.
Young marriage. Hey, so you. All right, good evening. Do I need the microphone or do I not need the microphone? Yes, microphone. Okay, yes, microphone. I'm Matt Wheelwright. I'm the chair of Neighborhood District 1. Welcome. We're very excited that you're here to join us. We've got some neat things to talk about on the agenda, some informational things, but we will start with a Pledge of Allegiance led by Stan Smith. Prayer always comes first. Sorry, I didn't even read my own notes. Marianne Downing's going to offer an opening prayer, and then Stan Smith will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Our dearest Heavenly Father, we're grateful to come before Thee at this district meeting, and we're thankful to be able to have Thee to be with us and to have Thee to guide us. Would Thou bless us that we might be able to have good discussion and that we might be able to have an understanding of what needs to be done in our district to make it a thriving, growing area. And so we ask Thee to open this meeting with Thy blessings in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And we wanted to recognize, I think I saw Catrice. Yes, Catrice McKay walked in. Welcome, thank you. Did I see any other elected officials that I need to recognize? I don't think so. Thanks, Catrice, for being here with us. All right, Rachel Breen, and thanks again to Rachel. There's some snacks, appetizers. If anybody needs those, Rachel, thank you and your staff for bringing those. Rachel's just going to share a little bit about decorum and kind of what we're doing here tonight. And then we'll hand the time to Vern Keeslar to talk about some traffic items.
Okay, just to start off, our neighborhood district meetings, this is our time to interact with city staff, hear about development. So please be respectful of our staff that are coming, that are staying after hours to speak with us, and also the developers who come. It's voluntary for them to come, so we're very thankful when they do to talk to us. If you do need to speak to city staff, Vern will have his contact information at the end of his slides, and Jessica Dahneke, who's our city planner, her contact information is on the agenda. So if you have questions about the items you see tonight, you can contact them.
Do I go on up here? Okay. Let's go right into this. My name is Vern Keeslar. I'm the traffic manager for Provo City. And I'll let the secret out. I love my job because there's always something to do regarding traffic in Provo, right? Never a dull moment for me. So we're going to go through this brief presentation. I have about 8 or 9 slides. I think most people know what the average speed is. I'll be talking about average speed. I'll also be talking about 85th percentile. And it's important to know that 85% of the vehicles are below that speed or lower. And in volume, everybody knows what the number of vehicles are. And then the directional distribution is how many vehicles going eastbound or westbound, northbound or southbound. Okay, tonight we're specifically talking about 2950 North. And this is a functional classification street as a local street that kind of functions as a collector because it connects Canyon Road with Timpview Drive, and on top of that, it's one of the primary ways into the Indian Hill subdivision area, right? So it sees a lot of traffic. So last year I did a couple of studies on this because we have a lot of concerns about speeding on this particular segment of the roadway. I put my monitoring device right where you see the red dot. And here's my dates. In April, while Timpview High School was still in session, we did a traffic study there, and we found the overall average speed was about 29. but the 85th percentile was 33. You're averaging about 2,900 vehicles a day during that time. That's a little more, it's about 500 vehicles more than I'd like for a local street, but that's where it's at. No, it's about 1,000 more than I'd like for a local street, but that's what happens. And so I did a second traffic study. I was expecting the speeds to go down and the volume to go down because Timpview High School was out of session. Unfortunately, I was wrong on the volume. Volume went up to 3240 during that month. But the speeds did drop a little bit. Average speed was 27, so it dropped a couple miles per hour. And the 85th percentile also dropped to 1 mile an hour. So we still have a speeding problem. It's not awful. It's not double digits. It's not 10, 12, 15 like some of our city street. But we wanted to do something. So just so you can see the April versus the July, I was right about the speed. It went down, but the volume went up. And that's just another visual for you to see what the difference was. So what can I do about it? I propose doing a pilot project, and it takes a lot of convincing with my public works staff to do this. But here's what I'd like to do. At this location right here, about a third of the way through the street, I'd like to put some white delineators right here. And then I'd like to put my speed reduction bars there. And they're just paint, okay? Solid double yellow line, and then speed reduction bars going the opposite direction, going westbound or eastbound, and then have my delineators over here. What that does is it narrows the roadway a little bit. It's pretty wide street already. It only removes 2 parking spots. This one, people shouldn't really be parking there anyway because it's between 2 driveways. And the other one I've already visited with Heather. Is Heather here tonight? Hi, Heather. So we've been working together with Heather and a couple other members that live on the street. And this is my proposal. I just feel really, I try to build consensus. And so I wanted to come out and present to the District 1, let them know this is what we'd like to do. And it's a pilot project that we haven't done in Provo, and it's something I'd like to try. Any questions?
When you say delineator, is that a post? What is the?
Yeah, it's a white plastic post that stands about anywhere from 36 inches to 42 inches high. So it's reflectorized. You would see it. If you run over to it, it's gonna bounce down and bounce back.
Or you would designate these traffic calming, right? This is to just bring some attention, slow people down because they feel the street narrows, right? That's the goal of this.
Just to slow traffic down.
So, sorry, Vern, I didn't understand, the polka dots are the poles.
Those are the delineators, the 36, 42 inch high plastic bollards. Yep,
They are flexible in case somebody had to,
yep, they're flexible. If you accidentally run over them, they will bounce back up.
and will you be putting the yellow line that you on here also?
Yeah, the solid double yellow line keeps people in the lane. And so because I narrow that lane, people tend to drive a little slower. Yes. Do we need to distribute the microphone now on the questions?
Probably.
I can repeat the question. I'll repeat the question.
I was just wanting to know what the address was because I didn't catch it the first time.
Heather, 2950 North, what's the east address?
555 East.
555 East. There you go. That's the address and the location where we do that. Yes.
All right, just to bounce off Sharon's, each one of the dots is a plastic bollard.
Yeah, I was spaced those properly.
Okay.
I haven't designed it fully yet. This is just a schematic. Once people are happy with it, then we'll go back and design it. Yes.
Thanks. I live in the area and I love this idea. And I hope that it works and then we can do it on 3230 and other streets. I assume this is something that you've seen in other municipalities and there's evidence that this works and this isn't just like a thing that you're making up. Can you talk about like how this has worked in other places?
Well, I'm being creative.
Okay.
But I'm not necessarily making it up. All those things that you see are in the manual of uniform traffic control devices. I'm just combining them all to do a pilot project. What I'll do, is I'll also, after about 2 or 3 months, I'll go back out and look at it again, and I'll do another traffic study while they're up to see if it affects the speeds, okay? See if we're successful. Yes.
What's the cost?
Cost, figure that out, it's gonna be about $1,500 to $2,000. So not a lot of money. Paint, plastic bollards, staff time, road design, yeah, kind of different. Okay, yeah, one more question.
It sounds great. I was wondering if you could tell us more about the public safety improvements you might expect to see.
Well, we haven't had any crashes on the corridor, so I'm really just asking people to slow down, and this will help them to do that. It really didn't warrant a your speed sign. By the way, the higher speed is in the westbound direction, not the eastbound direction. So I'm just hoping people slow down, that's all I'm here. Okay, yes, yeah, another question.
Have a goal speed for people to drive on this road?
Absolutely, the speed limit, posted speed limit, 25 miles an hour. That's the limit.
I am a Zoom question, so.
Questions, okay.
A Zoom question, sorry. There's two. First, will the double yellow line run the length of the whole street?
No, it will not, it will be just that location.
Perfect. Second question, how will the posts affect bicycle traffic? Is there a way around for bicycles if a car passes at the same time?
Okay, so there are no bike lanes on 2950 north, and they can go into the lane of travel as they're allowed to do now. And because those are just paint markings, they won't be going over any bumps. So bicyclists should be able to maneuver it just very fine. Any other questions before you get on to much funner discussion?
Great idea. Thank you for.
How far out do those triangles go into, like, what's the size of the lane gonna be?
I'm measuring about 20 feet out from here to here.
Leaving helmet.
So at an angle, okay, and so I'll leave about 10-foot travel lanes. So enough to make you slow down if another vehicle is oncoming and you're staying in your lane, you should be driving the speed. Okay, thank you so much. Oh, looks like
It's really gonna affect the parking of that house, and I don't even live there.
So I talked to this homeowner, that's Heather back there, she's very supportive of this. Her driveway is actually over here on the left side. And then this one, there's a driveway here and a driveway here. And there should be parking in between anyway, because you can't see when you pull out and back out. So it's kind of an optimal pilot project location. We'll see if we have success with this. Yes.
I'm the house with all the trees next to Heather. I'm totally supportive of this. I want it.
If there's no fatal flaws, if you don't see any fatal flaws with this, we'll move forward with the design. We'll implement it within a few weeks, soon as I get the plastic bollards in. And you know, I'll do a traffic study and we'll share the results with you, okay? Thank you.
Thanks, Vern, appreciate it. And I can tell you from some of my research academically on this, that these things work. Like, you will see some amount of slowdown based on the research in this area. Okay, we now move to some planning items. So Jessica Dahneke, sorry, I was close. Is going to lead us through, there are two different items. We'll take them in sequence here. If you grab an agenda, you'll see that. And Jessica, I'll just ask you to give us as part of this, what's happening, so we know, should we show up the planning commissioner, city council, or those kind of things after this meeting, so.
Yeah, great.
It's on.
There we go. Okay. Yes, so the first planning item up tonight is an ordinance text amendment to allow for an accessory apartment at 3080 North Bannock Drive. It's got the red highlighting around it. This property is in an R110 zone, so unlike other areas in the city, it does not allow an accessory apartment unless they get the text amendment. This text amendment only includes their property, so none of the adjacent properties would be allowed to have that accessory dwelling unit unless they also came in and did a text amendment. And then the last thing that I just wanted to note is that if the text amendment is approved, it applies to the property. So the current property owner and all future property owners could apply to have the accessory apartment. They would have to meet all of the requirements in 1430 to get that accessory apartment. It will go to planning commission and then it does have to be approved by city council. So there'll be 2 other public hearings where you can come comment or you can come comment. Are there any questions that I can answer?
Does it meet all the requirements of 14.2?
That's part of our review process. Right now, what they've uploaded, we're looking into if it will be owner occupied. That's what we're doing as staff review, and it will affect how we recommend either approval or denial. As we're all aware, owner occupancy is the #1 requirement for accessory apartments. We don't want duplexes that just get turned into rentals. So yes, we are reviewing that at this time, and it will affect whether staff recommends approval or denial.
Some of the codes can be really long. I wondered if there was an easy list you could give us of what are some of the things in 1430.
Great, yes. The big things are owner occupancy, parking. There needs to be 4 off-street parking spaces. And then it has to have a rental dwelling license. And as part of that, it has to pass a health and safety inspection. Those are really the main things. Other than that, it's kind of, we want to make sure that it maintains the appearance of a single family dwelling. And the allowed occupancy for an accessory apartment is 1 family or 3 individuals.
Age? Does this one have any impact?
There's no age requirement for this. Yes.
Would this be an apartment added to the home, or would it be a separate building on the property?
From what I've received from the applicants, it is internal. So it's just part of the home, not a detached structure. Yes.
My name is Scott Murray. I currently serve on the Edgemont neighborhood. So when this first came up, I drove past the property, and it appears that the previous owner has already got a paved driveway all the way along the north end of the home of the subject property.
Yeah.
Also called a friend of mine, Sherry Earl, who lives 2 houses directly south of the subject.
Okay.
And just to get her opinion as a neighbor. And she didn't have a problem with it, was in favor of it. And I got the distinct impression that the previous owner probably has rented out this ADU without getting a rental dwelling license. But from what I could tell by just driving by and observing and looking, that there should be plenty of off-street parking. At least I've checked with one neighbor that was in favor of it, so.
Thank you. You raised actually a very good point. As part of this ordinance text amendment, they do have to have signatures from adjacent property owners. If they have 66% of their adjacent property owners in favor, that's another aspect that we review for an ordinance text amendment for accessory apartments. They've uploaded the signatures, so the immediately adjacent properties have given consent for this accessory apartment.
So it is code then that if they're given this ordinance text amendment, that the accessory dwelling unit would stay with the property if they sell it.
Correct. So they're amending the area where accessory dwelling units are allowed. So going forward, a new owner could establish an accessory apartment, but again, they would have to apply for a rental license to have it in their name.
Okay, so just to clarify then, for no more comments, questions. So this will go to upcoming planning commission whenever you finish your review, because your recommendation, the staff recommendation will be attached to that.
Correct, yes.
So an appropriate step for anyone here who has a very strong opinion one way or the other would be to write your city council or planning commission members and show up to those meetings and make comment. Rachel, is there any reason to vote here on this?
No, I think I did want the applicant did want me to read a statement since they're not able to attend tonight. But yeah, just watch for, and we'll send an email out and check the city website for when this goes to planning commission. I mean, you can always do an opinion poll if you want, or just encourage people to attend the planning commission and city council. But so Christina Gibson, who's the applicant, she said, this is in reference to the planning commission. She says, I'm writing to respectfully request that the city reconsider our situation and grant permission for us to maintain an accessory dwelling unit at our property. I'd like to share a bit of background to explain why I believe this request aligns with the spirit of the city's housing goals. When I purchased this home, my father helped me make it financially possible. The affordability of this investment was based on a long-term plan to rent out the main unit while living in the ADU. This setup allows me to build stability while staying close to my family, all of whom live here in Utah County. This house is not a short-term project for me. I plan to make it my home. I'm committed to living here long-term and eventually plan to move into the main home as my family grows. If circumstances ever require me to relocate, I would either sell the property or rent it as a single unit to one party. I have no intention of using it as short-term housing or student rentals. When my father and I purchased this home, this property was within the legal bounds to own an ADU. However, while we were in escrow, the law changed. It was only after the sale went through that we learned of the change. Despite the shifting regulations, we have done our best to follow every step of the process in good faith. We collected positive signatures from all the neighbors that we were able to reach, and we've worked to ensure the property is well maintained and a good fit for the neighborhood. This home represents both a personal investment and a future for my family. I hope the city will recognize the careful planning and intent behind this decision and consider an exception or path forward that allows us to retain the ADU as originally intended. Thank you for your time and consideration.
So if you're gonna go to the planning commission, it may be well to get a feel for this group, because whoever comes to the planning commission can represent a yay or nay in terms of how the group feels.
So let's take an opinion poll. We have one more question.
Yeah, the owner represents that at one point in time, the property was legally permitted to have an ADU. Could you indicate when that might have been?
Yes, I think that's a bit of a misunderstanding on their part. It sounds like, in my understanding, when they started the process of purchasing the home, we had the special use permit that was an administrative process and it didn't require a text amendment. After they closed on the home, we got rid of the special use permit, which was all done through the rental dwelling license and administratively, and now we require an ordinance text amendment. So it was a bit of a mistype on their part. It was never outright permitted. There always would have been a paperwork process. It's just now a more involved paperwork process because it is amending code.
Thank you. Okay, so let's take a quick opinion poll in favor or not in favor. And Rachel, this is who's allowed to vote? Just those in the district or just those in the city?
Just those in your district. So if you live in neighborhood district 1, you can vote. And normally the secretary records the vote. Can I have one of the vice chairs record?
Yeah, and I've got them taking notes also for a meeting. So if you live in District 1, you may vote. So those in favor of allowing or in support of, in your opinion, in support of this text amendment to allow this ADU, just raise your hand. Nice time.
Oh, one on Zoom. Well, 3 on Zoom.
This is not binding in any way. This is for opinion. We'll give feedback to the planning commission. And those opposed, raise your hand. I saw 3.
4.
And
On 2 hands.
4. Okay. Okay, thank you.
In the audience and 2 on Zoom, is that?
All right, so item B has
4, I'm sorry, how many for?
First, what I was told.
24-4.
And 4, yes, okay.
all right, so the second item, and we just need to be done by about 6:50 because our city staff can't be forced to stay too late, so.
There we go.
So I'm just gonna give some background on the annexation process, annexation and development process. We do have the actual applicant here to discuss more details about this. Right now, there is an application to annex about 74 acres of land into the city from Utah County. So we're still in the annexation phase, which is the first part. That annexation has to be considered by council and then approved, after which it has to go to the state to be certified and then the county to be recorded. That's the only application that's actually in the system. That's the only part that we're working on right now. After that is taken care of, the next step would be that they would have to rezone the area and provide a concept plan. With that application, it goes through our standard review process. So planning looks at it, building looks at it, engineering, fire. They all review the rezone and the concept plan in corresponding with their respective codes to see if it's feasible. From there, it would go to planning commission to get a recommendation and then city council to approve the rezone. After that happens, the third phase to get to development is to do a project plan. This would be a third application they would have to come and submit, which would start again with our department reviews, ensuring that it's going to meet all the respective codes. I know hillside is a very big concern since you are all in the foothills, so engineering will be heavily involved in this. From there, the application goes to planning commission to get approval. This application, the project plan does not go to city council. It gets final approval from the planning commission. At that point, we would record the plat map and the developers would be allowed to apply for their building permits to get the development process underway. As you can see, any of the items that have an asterisk next to them, they are items that get noticed to the surrounding property owners, and they go to a public hearing where there is opportunity to express concerns or just general comments about the applications. So with that background, I'm going to turn the time over to Zach, who is our applicant, to discuss more about the annexation.
Jessica, just to confirm,
Yes.
the only thing we're really talking about tonight is the annexation.
Yes.
So questions should be more specifically directed at that because there'll be another process.
Correct. Yes, Zach is going to talk a little about the concept plan just to give some information so you know what they want to annex and to do, but right now, the only application that's in and that the council will be considering is just to annex in or not.
Thanks, Jessica. Hi, my name is Zach Hartman. I'm the managing director for Land Advisors for the country's largest land advisory firm, and I represent the landowner who is Ready Capital, and they foreclosed on this property, and we're gonna lose money, and we're already sad. But our goal is to kind of come up with a better plan than the previous group. Do you mind going back to the previous slide real quick, Rachel, the one that just got? So when I talk to the neighbors, blocks, bubbles, plats, that's kind of the language that we've been using as we talk about how to go through the process here. Originally, we started this project like reviewing into the annexation. We needed to get to know the neighborhood because we didn't really understand it. It's probably the right thing. Rachel, you can go to the next slide if there's someone that's putting. So you can see the outline in yellow is the current city boundary. We've gone through and gotten signatures and petitions for every landowner in green. And these two landowners, Jessica, I believe, have already submitted a petition to annex in. So it would remove all your islands and all your sadness and make it easy for, you know, fire, public safety, public works. And we've been working with public works to kind of understand the hardcore infrastructure issues between water tanks, hillside issues, and access. Let me go to the next thing. We have 3 proposed plans that we were kind of hoping to get a vibe from because there's kind of a couple of issues. This issue, if you notice, we've got different landowners. So we've got the Gillespies, we've got Ryan Smith, we've got all the Smith clans, right? And we've met with everybody individually. And I think that there's one version here, we've got to change some of these lot lines, but we've taken everybody's feedback and drawn what individual people want and the individual landowners. Majority of land we hold is up here, and you know, we're about 160 acres in total. Some is in the city, some is not. We've also, there's a proposed public works plan to change this access point. And so some of our roadways come over here, and then we also understand there's issues over here on the parking. And so we were trying to move our roadway off and not go up previous proposed plans went up further. There's one piece here as we met with different neighbors to consider. I really think Tony Brown and his wife really didn't want this to connect over and create traffic from our people through this neighborhood. When we first started working on this, there's landowners that are stranded with different utility issues in here. Bryce Williams is one of them. And when we create our water system, we'll be able to loop. And if the Browns want to develop, they will bring that water line down, they can connect, and then Bryce will have circulation for his kind of stalled project. That should handle all those issues. Let me go to the next one. Another thing that we were trying to consider and get feedback on is the city actually owns the land over here. And so when I'm a neighbor, I try to be a good neighbor, stub in and not block and do things that make people upset. Or try to come up with a code plan. One thing when we talk to different members about trailways and access, kind of a big hot button. And you know, where you got private property and people accessing through different parts. I actually thought maybe it's a better idea to move a trailhead up here, put it on city property, and build out a roadway that has better access at a lower grade. But that's just something to consider. And whether we're paying for that or the city's paying for some of it, it's probably something worth discussing as kind of like a bigger project item. This version is the most antisocial version of that we have, and it basically stays on all of our own property. Doesn't involve any agreements with any neighbors. Shouldn't cause any problems. We've done our best to handle everything. Jack Rhodes and his wife are actually stranded here on certain access issues. We've created access points for them to get utilities and roadway. Funny story. Jack Rhodes is actually the broker that trained the founder of our company in Arizona long ago, and so I'm under orders.
He's way up there all by himself.
He is, and you know, he's having there's some different issues going on there, and this would be a nice fix. So, and we're not gonna, we don't have any hostage plans, so we just plan to let that happen and connect. That's really all that there is to cover. It kind of depends. The other plan, we're still working, you know, there's agreements between different landowners. This one's designed to be standalone without any additional agreements. So we thought, I think most people in the room we've met with many times, and I think we've got positive plans. And nobody really got any adverse responses we haven't addressed. So
Let's say so tonight.
Yeah, that's right, excited. Okay. So let's talk. Is that what you want to present? So can we pause for a minute and anybody want to ask Zach, right? Yep, Zach. Anybody want to ask Zach a question about, you have three possibilities, right? But we're really here to talk about the annexation. So we'll take an opinion poll in a few minutes about whether you're in favor of the annexation or not. But I think maybe Zach, you want a little bit of feedback about which of those versions
It'd be great, you know, and we're happy with all three versions. It's more like, what does the community support? So a funny part on the annexation poll, there's so many signers to the petition, there's no outliers. Every neighbor has signed. So that's ambitious.
Okay, so we'll still capture an opinion poll of who's here, who lives in the district that can vote, but we'll do that in a few minutes. So Sharon, you want to get started with the question, but as you're talking, if there's one of the three versions that you feel very strongly is good or bad, let's give a little feedback, but I'm gonna kind of keep track of the time so we don't go too long. So we have 14 minutes.
Very good.
Because my questions are more for Jessica.
Can't hear you.
Okay.
My questions are for staff about annexation in general and what that means for the city and the neighbors.
Go ahead now. You can go ahead and ask.
Money's pushing for you. Go ahead.
Shoot.
How many lots are you proposing to bring in on version 1, 2, and 3? And what kind of lots are they gonna be? Half acre lots, quarter acre, what are we looking at?
So in your neighborhood plan that just got approved, we were kind of trying to solve for two masters, right? So there's the missing middle, right? Which was our attempt, but that's why we threw some townhomes in there, trying to hit something in the middle. I think that can be interpreted two ways. One is, I think the existing families that have been on here for generations, maybe letting them have greater density for grandkids and kids to live on the same property they grew up on. Maybe that's the missing middle language, and we can kill the townhomes. I don't really care. And so there's a mixture, you know, we were trying to do a blend of the, 2 units per acre below and 1 unit acre above, that's in the general code. And so we stuck with that blend, but I can go through it. You got to remember different landowners have different density, and we gave density to anything that any adjacent, or that's not our land, asked for, because we weren't trying to dictate what they did.
Can you give each presentation a name so we can?
Sure, let's call this one antisocial. So antisocial, this is me, no friends, but doing what people have asked me to do, but no commitments from anybody else. I think, I can't read that, it's probably 185, 195, which should be below the total count of what's allowed in the general plan. And you can tell we've got a mixture of townhomes in here. And my guess is once we start drilling and doing geotech, we're gonna lose units just because that's the nature of the beast on hills. Next one. See, I got the clicker. I don't know what I was waiting for.
I might.
I think you were smarter than me. I appreciate it. This one is, let's call it for the greater good, because it had the city's property, right? And the question is that a parking lot? Is that open space? Is that a profit center? Is it an Olympic Village? I don't know. It's just, those are things the community can answer. My guess is it feels like a better parking lot that has better grade access. And maybe there's some affordable housing dollars up there that are needed or not. I just don't know. But my guess is it feels like a better parking lot that you can actually turn more trailer around on and access to national forest.
And are there same number of units proposed to?
Oh, sorry, there's more. 19. Yeah, there's more because we're trying to stack units so we can blade out the top part here so the city has a good trail.
Are you asking the city to donate that?
No,
to you?
I think it's a question of, are we building the road? Are they building the road? How many units are we getting? Is it just a parking lot? I'm gonna lose money. Then I can tell them what the price was. What I offered to the city was, if you could tell me the goal of what you want, then we can draft up a proposal. I didn't want that to be a point of conflict, right? And we've done that with every adjacent landowner. We said, hey, we don't want to be trying to buy people. We're trying to work with people. So we've already
got our piece. Right, like, before we keep it, just make sure everybody, I think everybody's here because of this project, so you kind of know where this is, but these are power lines, right? That are. Those are lighted, those are power line easements that are. So like, they're not necessarily power lines, but they're things they can't do anything with, right? So like, let's call it. Sorry. Here we go. This one we can call philanthropy. Because I build a lot of extra roads to accommodate all my neighbors, but it probably is a really cool, nice thing to do because it creates circulation for public works. It does a lot of stuff. We kind of like the plan where we left more open space here, but truthfully that harms some of the adjacent neighbors. And so we're comfortable with both plans, right? Makes it really difficult to make money selling their property as a development because they'd have to build bridges and roads. And unless it's on my back, the math is bad.
What's the number?
206. 206.
So I have two questions.
Sure.
Actually, I have a lot of.
Sure. Andrew, right? Okay, we partied.
So big question. So I was on that committee.
Can't hear you.
I know, I lost my voice. Can you imagine? So I was on that committee that helped draft the neighborhood plan. And so one of the big concerns in drafting that neighborhood plan was sewer capacity. Would you like to address that? How it's getting paid for?
I write checks, it's covered.
And well, I'd like specific information and also, so the plan that interested me the most was with the conservation easement at the top.
Yeah.
Who would be the underwriter for that?
Good question. So I've done a couple, we've done some with Nature Conservancy, we've done a couple with National Audubon. Because I think there's a preference in this area with the history of it for more of an orchard. There's probably not an operator for that we probably have to create that from scratch. And then we have to have someone willing to work it and someone with the capacity to take it on as time goes on. We have to decide whether to have an endowment. So I think the answer is we got to figure that out. I think that's probably, Fremont Island, when we sold that and turned it into a state park, we had a wealthy donor that said, hey, they're going to buy out the unit cap and it was great for their taxes. They came in and stopped it. And then got a really nice, we had money in the kitty for the state park. Same thing with National Audubon expanded, we put up an endowment as a developer because we got extra units and it was a good trade. So the answer is that I probably just need feedback from the community of what's more meaningful, open space that people just don't touch. And it's like kind of for looking at, or expansion of orchard operations, because there's multiple owners that would like to expand their orchard operations in the spaces that aren't developable for us, right? Or aren't actually feasible. And those will probably just paper up and sign away, right?
So to that end, so I appreciate that you are telling us that you have a history, because one of my biggest concerns is a lot of promises and nothing to back it. So you have a history where you followed through.
Awesome. So if you ask everybody here, the big problem is I will not promise because I don't know what the city is going to do to me yet, right? Once I know what the city will do to me, I can start making promises as contracts, right? And if you look at my track record, Google me up, we're pretty serious to getting things done. Sold Dave Ring twice, Kennecott, we did the Inland Port, did Fremont Island, make sure we're basically, I'm a mercenary for hire and we will get it done. And we're hired by the buyer that's under contract with the property, and we've been hired by the buyer to complete the work, both the engineering team, the legal team, and myself.
So can you address sewer in very specific terms, please?
Happy to give you a write up, but probably don't have time. But the sewer's not an issue.
Well,
It's your own issue or because you're open to city.
We met with Public Works and our engineering department and went through it, and that was, we started with our baseline of what we have to do for a water tank. I would say my scariest issue is storm drain.
Yeah.
Storm drain is the scariest issue. So that's the issue I have to handle the most. So like in the world, when I start papering this and paying for real engineering, I'm probably going to lose units if I don't get the right math. And that's just part of life.
So is this the one you're talking about has the conservation easement? This?
If I looked at all three again.
Yeah, we just kept throwing it. It's if we don't connect the roadways, right? This roadway has all of the power lines through it. And the answer is we probably, and to be fair to the Gillespies, we just have to go through and come up with an agreement that's fair to them. And that part hasn't been done yet because I don't have the ability to make promises.
The Why is the Provo City part not over there on the side also?
Because if you don't want to work with me, I gotta have a plan that's just a standalone. So I just have like 3 versions. In my mind, you plan the Provo City property. In my mind, we create a really nice open space piece that matches the heritage of this. And then, you know, I probably start with units that are in the mix in the 200 range. And I bet by the time I physically design it, I'm gonna drop 20, 30 units.
But does Provo City still own what's not drawn on there?
I think the way you would draw it up is you would want to have it be a public open space. And it would probably be more like, you know, we did work at BDO, it was like a partnership. And that way you could kind of do more public decisions instead of developer, you know, I got my profit line, you know, restrictions. And in my heart, I think you've turned it into more of a table of work style place, because I think the access up to the mountain is getting harder and harder to get to and a little windier. And especially I think as you get older people trying to access it. So I think that's a really big move. Plus some of the points of conflict with private owners and miscellaneous trails in here is there's 30 ways to get up there and hard places to park. And I think if you have one centralized place, you can face a lot of those issues.
My question is about support.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, my question is about support. So since the beginning of the year, our neighborhoods, we've had a lot of issues with crime and vandalism on our end of the Provo City. And I know that from talking to, you know, city staff and other things, that we're about 12 to 15 police officers short just for Provo City. And also we're short for fire services on our end. We don't have a station. So with this amount of units that are going in, how are we gonna support that? Like right now we're short 12 to 15 police officers, which means I don't have any idea how many more we need to support this community, but also then it's the fire safety and of course we're all worried on the bench.
Yeah, super smart question. I think, you know, you circulate a higher level, and we got more water up there and better access to the roads. That's a huge break line for future fire issues on the hill, right? And then more eyes up there, less places to go on dirt roads that are accessible and not watched, because, you know, we're someone that got foreclosed on and we're out of state and know the owner, and we're not living there day to day. We get help from the neighbors knowing what's going on the property with a fair amount of trespassing, and it's really hard to control. So, you know, roads and people living there permanently is probably the best way to get eyes for your crime in question. And then, you know, typically when I come through here and I get these reports, I write pretty massive parks checks and other checks, and like we feed into the kitty for the police fire support.
All right, these are Zoom questions again.
Hit a roll.
So how will this action affect the completion? How will this action affect the completion and experience of the Bonneville Shoreline Trail?
Good question. So, my understanding is that as it connects over here, there's clunky parking and poor access on the right side, right? Is that, am I reading that right? And so the question is, if we move the trailhead up to here and you've got better access points, that get you up there relatively quick. And that's probably, you know, that becomes a Forest Service question because we're talking about property, right?
Okay, and I'm just gonna do one more, sorry.
Good.
Oh,
I can answer that.
never
On
mind.
that, where he's drawn the map on the other version that showed the city property. Bonneville Shoreline Trail actually intersects that parking lot. You're accessing that point from Indian Trailhead down on 5500 North. Yes, it's yellow ground right there. Get your pointers at. On the outside of that Bonneville Shoreline Trail runs right through that.
Thank you. Okay, next Zoom question. Yes, okay, this would be a very lucrative opportunity. What will the developers do in exchange to the city for the donation of almost 17 acres of land?
2 questions. So for me, we're losing money. So we're a lender to foreclose. We're really sad. We would love the money we spent back. Not gonna get it. That's just for the property. That doesn't involve this. This piece, I don't want to get in a conflict with the city. I think we just come up with some kind of a partnership where you decide what it is and then you take it out to bid and see who can bid the best and give you the best price and let the market compete. That would be my advice. We don't need to control it. If you can't tell, we designed it with open roads and not blockades because we weren't going to be those people. So.
But my guess is if we're building all this, we're doing construction, we'll have the best pricing. But. So. Did I answer that right?
I just wanted to register a note of concern, kind of with the city foothill ordinance, it seems like putting, 200 units on a steep slope in an area where there's been multiple small fires in the area, and requiring, additional water infrastructure up at that high, basically on the Smith ditch and above. This mic is okay, and it seems like it's even surprising that we can see some way that it could even pass by what's already in the foothills ordinance. I also, on the subject of trails, I volunteer on the board of the Utah Valley Trails Alliance. We worked with the city and the Forest Service on coming up with the Provo Area Trails Plan, and which was adopted in 2020, 2021. And this seemed like a situation where we could definitely use more public input before, in particular, completely obviating the Indian Road trailhead down below. It would be, and the number of trails that are on city or Forest Service land that are going to be either blocked or essentially in somebody's backyard.
You hit all of the best questions.
Would be real concern to have here. So I think it seems like this is something that we should be having cautious public input before rushing ahead, and as people have talked about, well, things can be annexed and then you can worry about how the plans work later. I think that to some extent, Provo City taking on new possible liabilities and then leaving it to the last kind of step of the process to say, well, we have a backstop, but then people may say, well, but there's already momentum. Why are you throwing a wrench in at the last moment? I think we should be cautious here.
Super smart comments. So the idea of the infrastructure going higher, that's a fire benefit. And then you got to remember when I'm saying 200 units, I have hundreds of acres in this, right? Like this typically is less dense than just about any other part of the city. And so there's a lot of, and if you look at this, we've got our 30% slides in the slope areas, where none of the buildable areas that are trouble, right? And then this is, like I said, the part we're saying we'll figure this out later. The part we're talking about that is we actually physically engineer the site and we pay for that and we go through that process. We're going to lose units because that's just what happens, right? We'll choose not to do certain units. And your 12 question is really interesting. You name the number one point of conflict that's going to happen in this project. So the landowners that live here and that own this, they like to put up with friendly trespassing on Smith Ditch all the time. And I would say between the people that don't live here and the people that live here, that's the greatest disconnect from in our kind of review of the area, right? And so there's so many landowners that feel so intruded by the trails groups here, and they're pretty friendly about it. But to move it over here, and you were saying this is going to go away. When this power station is going to expand anyway, when this expands anyway, this trailhead is getting killed and it doesn't have anything to do with me, right? I'm just addressing the fact that this parking lot's going to get smaller. And if you put it up there, that's a better choice. It gets close to everything. And then you eliminate the point of conflict between the owners in here along the Smith Ditch. Because like you go on the Smith Ditch, it would be an ideal walk along, beautiful, low grade place to have a hiking trail. The problem is you don't own it, so unless you're going to seize it or pay for it, and it's not really on my property. Or less, I'll give it to you for our part, because I just want to get through and get out of here, right? Because I'm just losing huge sums of money, I'm going to lose less. So, okay.
To Daniel's point about the trails, though.
Can you wait? We have someone that was waiting, and then we go back to you.
Zach, can I? Just a quick question, just a clarification on the trail. Like I'm an owner and I'm the head coach of the Provo Timpview High School mountain biking team. We access these trails probably more than maybe not anybody in this room, but a lot of us.
Yep.
This plan actually improves and complements our access to trails. It doesn't remove any. It just makes everything better.
That's the plan.
This one's specific.
Right now, there's a lot of illegal trails going through private property. 100%. And this creates way better access, way better parking. It's just, from a trail standpoint, it's 100% fantastic.
And to the trails thing,
This is huge.
for the old people, don't get rid of the one up by East Lawn.
So it won't have anything to do with me. I'm not even, right?
I understood that was gonna go away.
No,
To
what
access
I'm saying
Boston
is,
from that
I hiked it and I went through it, and I was like, there's not enough parking here, it's hard to get on.
But most people access it locally.
Perfect, and I think in general, like, that's not our issue, we were just trying to figure out how Indian Trailhead in this area, we're gonna have an effect. What's the best way to do, and I thought moving the trail up to a higher access point was a better choice for people who drive in and parking.
Right here, sorry.
Hi, my name is Michelle Schrader, and 2 years ago, I heard that in the entire planet, Utah has more cars per household than anywhere else. And if you, I mean.
Weber County.
I've got 3 kids and my husband and I, and so we have 5 cars.
Yep.
And if you even underestimate these 200 units having 600 to even 800 cars coming out on Canyon Road, it's not a very wide road. And right down the street is Canyon Crest. I'm not against developing at all. I'm not against townhomes, but I am concerned that that will add up even more cars. And, you know, is the access going to be a stop sign? Are we gonna get a light? But that's a.
You have the same question I do, so we were trying to read the neighborhood plan for the townhomes. I don't wanna build the townhomes, I'm gonna lose money on them. So if you want me to get rid of them, it makes you happy, they're gone, okay? Like, I don't care. I can go with fewer units, but then I violate other single family, for sale. I mean, these homes are gonna be common and above, right? And so we're happy to do that if that's what we're being told. But I wanted to address the neighborhood plan, trying to get that middle housing bracket. But like by the time I grade out that plat and I lose money selling and I'm gonna make money on the gap of the custom build, I'm totally in favor of richer people living up here, if that's what you want, but it's not what your building plan did, so.
Actually,
We'll clarify what it says.
we were on the board.
Missing middle,
No, it wasn't on the hill. This was all coming in as residential agriculture.
This all was mapped for residential agriculture.
correct, which allows for, so say, there we go, half acre lots, I have 200 plus acres. I'm underzoned.
Right, but you're also dealing with the critical hillside overlay zone, which doesn't allow other 30%
And it's not even
ridge lines
30%.
and stuff like that.
It's not, so you can see, we mapped out those areas.
Yeah.
So I feel like we've kind of hit most of the comments. Sorry, I see one in the back and I don't want anybody to feel like they weren't heard. But city staff have to leave soonish. And I did want them to kind of come back and talk about, since, as we discussed, this is just kind of to get you what the developer's thinking at this moment. Nothing is he has not chiseled any of this in stone anywhere. And so I wanted to know what the next part of the process is that might help you in your poll taking. Because as Jessica showed you, the steps that are involved. I'd be curious what you're hoping your timeline is.
Tomorrow.
Well, I know.
So. I live in sadness. No, I think for me, it would be great to know if townhomes is good or bad, right? If I'm solving that issue or not, that'd be great to know. The second would be, do you want to include the city property? Yes or no? The next would be, am I trying to find larger tracts of meaningful open space in the plan? Or am I trying to pocket it in there? Right? And I typically like larger pockets of open space, meaningful, that have down the line and can stand a generative test.
So does that all have to go into the annex plan?
Nope, you guys are gonna kick me around later. I come in, I don't know where to go.
So he knows what direction to go as he develops plans for the future.
I believe the one thing I would say, the adjacent landowners have asked for things that are personal to them in the plan, and I just give them an exception and beat me up. Okay? Because I wanna make the landowners adjacent happy. There's been a lot of back and forth and sadness. I think we can fix a lot of historical issues here and just give you a little leeway on that.
And so that's kind of my question for Jessica. How many property owners are actually involved in this annexation? Because I understand Zach only represents some of them,
But they've all signed the agreement for the annexation.
but so several involved.
Yep.
And you started to describe the process. As this comes in, if the city council approves it, and whoever else needs to approve it, what zone does it come in at automatically? Does it automatically go into the CCAUS would be one of the cause? The critical hillside overlay zone.
Yeah. Annexations come in as open space preservation and recreation zone, so the OSTR zone, which is why after the annexation gets certified and recorded, the next step is for a rezone application. That rezone application also includes a concept plan. That's where you're going to see a more solidified, probably amalgamation of all of the three plans. That's where city staff gets a lot more nitty and gritty about where infrastructure can actually be supported. That's still not a 100% development plan. The third and final step is the project plan, and that's where they're submitting what they're actually gonna build. So it is a multi-phase process.
We have no rights, we have no levers, we only have grace. That's it. I can come in and I can put up a plan and you have to like it, or I can just.
So to answer the question, the hillside overlay zone is also on top of the
Yes.
open space.
The hillside overlay zone does come in for that area. Thank you.
And so when he comes in for his rezone request, can he bring multiple rezones, or does he have to blanket the whole thing as one?
So
R1A zone.
you submit, so there's members in the zoning that are currently in the city. There's members in the annexation that are not in the city. So the annexation comes in as just the members that are not. The zoning piece that comes over on top of that typically is everybody that's in the legal description of the site plan. And there's people currently in the city that are gonna participate in that. And we were feeling the vibe in the room that they wanted a trustless transaction, right? Like, hey, if you're coming in, we wanna know what you're doing. And so we've kind of papered it to be like that, is the way we'll submit it. And so that's why asking these questions today, we thought it'd be helpful. I'm getting a vibe of where I need to change some things just from the room. And I think I can make some headway on that. Like I said, I think the Smith ditch is the biggest point of conflict. And I think that the city probably has to write a check for that, because that's something else off my property. It doesn't have much to do if they want to do that, but you also have to get cooperative landowners. You got to decide whether you're going to get, there's a bunch of fixes there that are kind of technical, but this isn't probably the place to handle, right?
Does Utah County give you any problem in an annexation?
So the previous people planned to go to Utah County, get their zoning, and then kind of get forced into here. Was kind of the pitch. When we read that, we're like, that doesn't make any sense. The city holds all the cards. We have nothing here, but so let's just go in and gamble. And that's what we're doing.
The county doesn't come in until the recording phase, and that's where they go through and make sure all of our documentation is correct. All of our T's are crossed and I's are dotted. There can be some pushback, but it's all bureaucratic paperwork. Everything's kind of been finalized at that point from the city side.
So once that's done, that's pretty automatic, but the county will go ahead and allow that annexation.
Yeah.
Okay, now Zach, I know a lot of you came for this, but we need to move on. Zach said he's willing to stick around. So if people have further questions, want to give some additional, give him the vibe. We want him to have the vibe, right? Having been a developer, having sat through a lot of these meetings, his attitude is really constructive. We ought to be working with him because we're going to get a lot of what you want, but you got to communicate that to him. So he's willing to stick around. So let's make sure we communicate. But I want to take an opinion poll on the annexation, because that's the next step at planning commission and then city council, or just city council. Just city council. Just city council. So you're welcome to come back and give public comment at that meeting, or send an email to city council members for that, but we do want to capture an opinion poll. So if you live in District 1 or whole city?
District 1.
Just District 1. If you live in District 1 and you are in favor of annexation, we'll just do yay or nay. In favor of annexation, raise your hands. We're going to count Paul, you can count for us?
Can we have an undecided category?
Sure, yes, we can do yay, nay, or undecided. That's totally great.
That too.
And 2 hands.
I got 23.
That's for yes.
27, 28. 29.
They'll live up here.
You got some in here.
I think people put their hands down
Okay,
midway through the process.
okay, so we got 30 yays, yeses. All right, who says no? Just raise your hands. No judgments.
2, 3.
Living in District 1. Sorry, no, sorry, I was being an example.
You did.
Okay, and undecided. If anybody says I'm undecided,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
okay. Now, just for feedback, Zach, if you were of the mindset, let's get rid of the townhomes, will you raise your hand high? Say, no, I don't want any townhomes up on that hill. Whatever happens in the future. No townhomes, raise your hand high. Zach, we're just giving you a little bit of context here.
And you asked for how many who want to see townhomes?
So how many want to see townhomes in some form? Raise your hand. And when we say townhomes, there's a lot of that it measures as a townhome. So it's not like a duplex or a triplex, like there's a lot of versions of that, but my hand was up, count me on that one. Okay, and then the other feedback Zach wanted is on the city plan that had the yellow over here. Who would like to see that? Let's call it a parking lot, but something that changes the nature of the trail access, coordinated in some form. There's a lot of work there, Zach, on figuring that out with the city, but
Bring it on.
who says yes, we want some kind of, basically we're saying move the Indian trailhead to I'll say a better location, but a different location.
They'll have a.
Still have all the access, it'll just be in a new location. This is just reading the room, we're giving Zach some feedback to take some next steps. Who says no, don't touch the trails, keep them where they're at? Who says both of them? Keep the current access, but maybe give some new access. Looks like maybe 5 or 6.
Who was that?
Yeah.
I didn't see
And
that.
everything, what is the access to? Is it horses only, feet only? Four-wheeler, what are we talking about that can actually go on a trailhead?
We would follow the ample model out of Teton County. It's multiple access for all users. We don't, from rock climbing to horses, the whole shebang, we want to accommodate every user. That's our,
and
we
the
follow
city,
that code and most of our.
and the city might have some modifications or some tweaking to that, but who said both? I think it was like 6. Both, who said both? Keep the current trail in some format and let's give some new access. And I think the last one you said was large open space or scattered small open space. So large open space, raise your hand. We'll say, hey, let's do some large open space. Down 12. Well, one on line 13. And who says small, more scattered open space sometimes? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Looks like 8. Who says both? Who wants everything possible? Yep, there you go, Zach. Zach wants it too. Okay, Zach, thank you. That was a very constructive way of presenting. Thank you for being here. If you'll stick around, we will not be offended if some of you want to leave the rest of this meeting to go talk to Zach. We understand. And city staff, Jessica, thank you so much for being here. So we captured all those numbers. We'll put those in the report and share those with city council. Okay, thank you. All right, Matt Evans now has the presentation. Where is Matt? The meeting's not over, but if your goal is to talk with Zach, go talk to Zach. We have a few more things we're gonna go over right now. So first we have Matt Evans, who's gonna give a presentation about Out About, a resource, I think, that we might be able to get access to or something, but you'll talk about that, Matt. And then Lisa Boyce is gonna take a few minutes. She's got a little handout, but there were some comments mostly about physical facilities that we just wanted to have a quick minute with a member of our school board. So.
Hi, my name is Matt Evans. I'm with outabout.org. We're an organization trying to build community everywhere through establishing a tradition of the first Sunday of each month is for everybody to go out and visit their neighbors. In a lot of areas, these are currently happening as cookie strolls or walkabouts or treats and streets. Are people familiar with those terms? So our goal is to try and standardize this like trick or treating on the first Sunday of every month. An out about is like trick or treating for adults and families. People can go circulate the neighborhood, and some people are sitting outside in their front yard with treats and some chairs for people to stop and visit a minute. Other people circulate, and we're doing it as a volunteer base. That no one is asking anyone to sit outside their house. Everyone can just put their hand up, put up their friendly neighbor beacon, and invite people over. So I believe an out about is the cheapest and easiest and lowest effort activity that can get neighbors to meet each other. It's easier than a block party or from a city festival or any other kind of activity that would be comparable. I know, right? This is my area. I live in Draper, and this was people who put up their friendly neighbor beacons on the first Sunday in May. And so we shot from our app. Just going, and so people can just open that up on their phone and go see who's welcome them, expecting us to stop by. The Attorney General's report from 2023 on the epidemic of loneliness and social isolation said that only 16% of Americans feel very connected to their local community. Yeah, it's that whole report is has a lot of sad statistics in it about loneliness and social isolation, and you know, this is just a small step in trying to remedy one path to that. So if it's just an individual doing it, it takes about 4 hours the first month, and that's mostly to hand out door hangers and then put up yard signs, and so to publicize it, and then after that it takes about an hour a month just to put out yard signs and remind people when it's happening. So we do it first Sunday of every month everywhere. So it's happening, we're just manifesting this essentially. That on the first Sunday of every month everywhere, it's happening. And so the only question, like for you guys in this room, it's happening on August 3rd, it's the first Sunday of August. There's an out about, and the only question is whether you'll be participating or not. And I tell that to everywhere I go, everywhere I've been in the country today. It's already started. It's just a question of whether you're participating or not. We take, because it's boundary free and geography agnostic, we take weather permitting, because in like Texas and Florida, this is a bad time of year to do it. They want to do it in the fall. I've tried it here in winter up in Draper, and we got 50 people to come out in November and December, and we did hot cocoa for our treat and let kids roast marshmallows or hot dogs. So a lot of people are already doing outabouts, walkabouts, cookie strolls, and why would you use outabout.org and try to coordinate with this? Because it still takes considerable effort to make an outabout happen. If you're doing it, if you're trying to just organize it through a church or a community organization, because everybody needs to know when and where. So we're standardizing the day on the first Sunday of each month, so that over time, people will need to know less and less, or have fewer and fewer reminders like trick or treating, that no one needs to tell people when trick or treating happens. Everybody just knows that on October 31st, if you want to participate, everybody knows what to do. So the goal is that a generation from now, the first Sunday of every month will just be an out about day, and everybody just knows, oh, we can just look on the site and see if we want to put up our friendly neighbor beacon, or we could choose to go around and visit other people. We did it Sunday evenings because that's the time of month that most people have, or the time of the week that's the least scheduled for people and the most leisure time. We chose first Sunday because it's easiest to remember, and then we put out yard signs that are colorful like these. We just stick these up in park strips all around the city, just to make people know that there's something fun happening. One of the other benefits of standardizing on a schedule is that it allows for mass media campaigns, so we can do stuff on social media and billboards and, city newsletters. Aspirationally, we would love to have some call outs from, national press or something, so that everybody would just remember and they're not having to say it's happening in different neighborhoods at different times. Governor Cox gave us a declaration designating the first Sunday of each month to be Visit Your Neighbor Day. So we're hoping, to grow this. It's been a Utah tradition, primarily the downabouts. They've been popular in Utah. The goal is to expand it and make it happen everywhere. Our website is outabout.org, and so the way people participate is to go to outabout.org, and that's where they put up their friendly neighbor beacon to say we're going to be sitting outside, and other people go to outabout.org, look at the map and see where the friendly neighbor beacons are, and that's where they know where to go find some friendly people that are going to have a tree farm. So that's my presentation, and it can be done. So Rachel from Provo City had mentioned to me that there's a couple of different levels this could be considered on. It could be coordinated by a neighborhood district, or if anyone is just interested in starting it as an individual Kickstarter, I'd be happy to talk to you too, because that's how we've started most of them so far. But we have a couple of cities in the country. Iowa City and Boise are the first that are trying to kick it off citywide. So thank you. Yeah, it's Becca.
So the field that I work in, we do a lot of research around this, social isolation and things like that. And one of the other things that I would add to your why standardize is that right now we have a national narrative of being divided and isolated and we can't be together. And so when you show up and if you go to an app like this and you see those beacons all across the country, it can help to kind of shift our perspective on what's actually happening, that in our communities, we're more connected than we think we are. And there are other communities who care about this and are investing in it. Because sometimes we get left with what's happening at the national level, which can bum us out. So just.
I appreciate that, except that I happen to have looked, and so far for August 3rd, there's only one neighbor beacon up there, so it won't necessarily be.
But like, we can be part of contributing to this, like, how do we do it? So, yeah.
So Matt, just to clarify, it doesn't cost anything to go put up a beacon or do anything to get involved?
Right, yeah, this is, we're a nonprofit, the app, everything's free, and it's not an app, it's a website. It's all free. This is a way to coordinate people so that some people can say, we're gonna be sitting outside, and other people can say, where are the people who are sitting outside waiting for me?
And if we have specific questions for you, this is the best way to reach out to you.
Yeah, we reach out to me that way, and I have some of our door hangers that everybody can take.
Okay, thank you so much. Lisa, you mind coming up? So Lisa's gonna, thank you, Matt, by the way, that's awesome. Lisa's gonna share a couple of thoughts, and then we wanted, did Kristen walk in? Kristen Woodward. She was the one who prompted this, but I think there are a couple of questions about some of the physical facilities, so we'll keep you up here for just an extra minute after.
Okay, well, I'm always happy to see people sticking on to the end. But I just wanted to quickly give you, I guess, a 2-minute, 3-minute update on some of the school board things that are going on. I brought a handout for all of you, giving you information about our truth and taxation process, which we're going into a hearing in August. And then just make sure you know how to always contact me, because I love to take your phone calls. I love to have people come to my house to meet. I'm happy to come to your house to meet. But I want to make sure that people are plugged in and understand what is and isn't happening here in Provo City School District. So this year we've had a real laser focus on academic growth and achievement here at Provo. You would think that's always the laser focus, and maybe it has been, but we have really zeroed in hard on data. We're trying to look at and really see not just overall, like, how are the kids in this one school doing in reading or math or science, but within each classroom, where is each student in terms of not just achievement, but growth? Because when you drill down into data like that, you find, for example, some of our kids who maybe are high on the achievement aren't growing or aren't making progress, or you see some of the kids that get left out and aren't making growth and aren't making progress. So this year and going into next year, the teachers have worked really hard on gathering and learning how to be informed about that data in our actual practice. And the state has given Provo School Districts several shout outs on schools where
every indicator might say we wouldn't hit our growth targets, but we have exceeded the other schools in the state on growth, showing that this can happen. We don't have barriers that can't be overcome, especially here in Provo, in terms of making sure every kid is making that kind of progress. So now it's a matter of getting teams of teachers, both within schools but across schools, really collaborating on what that is, because even though we might have every student in Provo making 1 year's worth of growth in a year, that still won't be enough to close some of the achievement gaps that we have. We have to actually have students making more than 1 year's worth of growth in a year. And while we've had this focus as a board, we have been looking hard at efficiency and how we use our resources here in Provo. So that has caused some nervousness, and I've heard from maybe some people in this room and a lot of people maybe not in this room around this. It's not because I don't and we don't value dual language immersion or the arts or our gifted and talented programs that we want to dive deep and look at those programs. It's because we have to make sure that the things we're funding and paying for are being done with the model that's number one, most efficient, but also that's really effective, because sometimes you dive into some of that data and you don't see what you thought you were going to see in terms of whether or not we're actually benefiting students the way we want to be. So we're not looking to eliminate any of those things, but we are looking to see if the way we're doing them and the model we've embraced so far here in Provo is what we want to have going forward. And that's not just us as the board, it's actually the city. So we've talked with families and constituents and we'll continue to do that. But we've also just looked at all of our buildings and how they're being used and where we have students at capacity and where we don't have enough students. And we're trying to come up with what will be the most strategic way to use the resources that we currently have here in Provo. A lot of you were aware of the Timpview construction project going on. Maybe that's what some of the questions are about. I just thought I'd give you an update on where we are. I went over there and talked to the people there just this week and the business administrator. They're currently working on rebuilding the cafeteria there. It's a remodel. And that's, I think, like 15 months of work left on the cafeteria remodel. Before the end of this year, the bids for the rest of that project will go out. The next phase after this and the final phase will be to rebuild the arts and the CTE center, which is the southwest part of that property on Timpview's property. So that is an ongoing process that's happening, and I'm happy to answer questions you have tonight during or after this meeting. I'm not on that construction committee, but I also can connect and make sure that we answer any questions you have. Finally, we've worked hard this year to communicate a little better with people. I don't know if you're getting either emails from the superintendent. She sends out a weekly community email. It's about 7 minutes of video, and she also types up the lead points, because sometimes we don't want to watch the video. We just want the summary, and then we know if we want to watch the video or not. Sorry, Wendy, for listening. But she sends that out every week. She sends one to all employees, but then she sends one to families and community members, and that just tells you shout outs and highlights, challenges, and also tells you before every board meeting what policies we're going to be discussing, where you can find drafts of policies to give us your feedback, etc. And then she created both a parent advisory committee and a community, what's it called? Community council? Are you on it? Community council. And these two things meet regularly, and it's a 2-year appointment, and every neighborhood district in Provo is represented on these. And that way, as we're drafting policy, as we're looking at resources, as we're looking at the data of performance, as we're looking at how to retain teachers, we're hearing from every stakeholder. I think the last thing is just I want to talk for a minute about taxes, everyone's favorite conversation. And so I printed this out. I'm going to get half to one side and half to the other. You can just take one and pass it around. This year we are going after truth in taxation. If you look at this handout, which gives you dates and sort of a really easy overview of this process, I thought I would just jump down to number 2, which is why are we raising taxes in Provo? So actually all of the levies are going down this year, except there are 2 levies that we are doing truth in taxation to increase. The overall trajectory, if you look at the last page, still puts our tax rate down where it was in 2022 before the big truth in taxation. The Provo School District did. And
what this means, if you're me and you're new kind of to tax code and everything can be confusing. But it depends, how this impacts you depends entirely on the valuation change in your home relative actually to the county's average change. So if your valuation went up the same or less than the average in Utah County, you will actually, even with this truth in taxation process, see your taxes go down this year, the amount that you will pay. If your property's valuation increases more than the Utah County average, you will see a small increase in your taxes. So the way they're reporting this in your valuation, which should come out soon, is different than it's been in the past. And if you go to the provo.edu website and click on the truth in taxation button, the business administrator shows you a few examples. And one of the things that was confusing to me at first was there are two homes on there valued. One is at around 500,000 and one is like 560 or 80,000. I don't remember exactly. But the $500,000 home's taxes went up by $60 and the $508,000 valuation home went down by $39. And the way she explained that to me was that, again, it's relative to kind of the change in your valuation, if that makes sense. Something we worked really hard on that we thought we were going to capture this year in the school district, but we're still working with the county to get this through, is that there are lands that have been annexed into Provo City that were not annexed into Provo City School District. And so the taxes from those lands go to other school districts, mostly Alpine actually. And so we've now submitted and are in the middle of that process, but we won't capture it for this year. We will for next year. And so that will actually spread out that tax burden and decrease it. But I wanted to explain why. I actually am someone who I'm not a fan of raising taxes, but I was a fan of this plan. First reason is because it's a pretty small increase. But the second reason is about teacher retention. Provo has a really hard time, the hardest in the state of Utah, retaining teachers. Now, part of that is because we're right here by two great universities. So we recruit awesome teachers who are just starting their careers and then their life takes them away from Utah County or Provo. But that's actually not all. A lot of it is that Provo is a very expensive city right now to live in compared to some of our neighbors. And so teachers who don't make a ton of money in the first place often can't afford right now to live in Provo, and they're being paid more in our neighboring districts. So it's very hard for us to compete and retain. And it's not efficient to continually be training and trying to get new teachers with the experience we want them to have in those classrooms to move that needle around academic growth and then academic achievement. And so we just have to be closing the gap. And so 100% of it's about a $4 million increase in revenue that the district will get after if this truth in taxation process results in voting to make this change in tax rate. 100% of that is committed to teachers' salaries and administrator salaries. Our principals make less than the principals in Alpine and Nebo. Our starting salary for our teachers is less than Alpine and Nebo. We just have to start to close that gap a little more aggressively. And given how much of the rates are going down this year and the fact that our lease revenue bonds, we have a couple of years before any of that we're gonna see impact. This just felt like the time to decrease the slope of that tax rates coming down to something that is back to where the rate was in 2022, but it allows us to try to close the gap. So there you go. I'm here for any questions you have. Yeah.
Well, this is better news than I thought. I thought for some reason that you guys were doing a bond and that was for the Timpview and Dixon stuff. So
we did pass a lease revenue bond a couple months ago, but that bond, we don't need to issue it because we can fund what we're doing on the cafeteria from our fund balance right now until some of our debt falls off. So in 2028, that's when some of that bond, and it will be less debt, like we don't add that to our current debt because we're not gonna actually issue that for a couple more years. Does that make sense? And that decreases the impact then of that bond on taxpayers. Yes.
I have a Zoom question. It's like multiple questions, but it's all together in one giant question.
Okay.
Are there any plans to update Canyon Crest more extensively, especially with plumbing? It's been experiencing some issues with flooding bathrooms. Last year, only the nurse's bathroom was available for students to use during the day. And we'd like to avoid that this school year. And then secondly, but same person, some parents are also worried about what we are doing to make sure our older schools are seismically sound.
Oh, thank you. So I think most of the schools in Provo City School District, after the Timpview rebuild done, will have been brought to seismically, all the code around seismic requirements. Canyon Crest is actually now one of the older schools in Provo. I'm not on the capital facilities committee, but I would say, I know they have a strategic plan where they're not waiting for things to break, like they've got a rotation schedule of when things are supposed to be replaced. So if they want to reach out to me, it's lisa@bo.provo.edu. I can tell them exactly when that plumbing is being upgraded. It could be happening now, and I have to admit I'm not tracking that detail well enough to answer that question, but I will get them the answer to that question. I know they're getting a new playground right now, and I just saw some pictures of that, and that's been a big deal, and I think there's some new things going on inside, like they resurfaced in the gym, painted pickleball court lines, which I guess the teachers and students were thrilled about. But I don't know about that detail. I can find out. Oh, the wasp, that's my favorite. I was hoping it would come up. Many of you know that there was that within about 2 months of Wasatch School opening, that wall had water running out through it. So we took down that wall. The engineers and contractors felt that that was something due to unforeseen circumstances. As a board member, I'll just say I don't believe that. I don't think we've had unusual enough weather this last winter that any amount of water we've received could be unforeseen. And so we've hired an outside person to come in and do soil samples around how the soil is compacted and look at everything before we decide exactly what will be done to remediate that. That's stretched it out and been really hard for people, but I wasn't comfortable just my own self with what was proposed to solve it, or even with the explanation of why it happened. So without a clear understanding of why that happened and a real clear assessment of whether there are other risky points in that project, I just personally felt like it was worth the investment to bring in some people to look at the entire process, to look at all of that data, and to help us know exactly what happened and why, and make sure that how we remediate that is going to hold. Yeah.
There have been some concerns in my community about the urban development project right next to Wasatch. What's going on with that? Is there any solutions?
You know, I can't really speak to that. Probably someone on the city council can, but I mean, yeah, I don't actually know anything about the development itself, but I do know that, you know, we're all right there in that same space, and we need to be working together with the right information as we're developing the systems that are going to support what we're building, to make sure that the whole neighborhood is not negatively impacted.
Lisa.
All right.
I'll take that. Thank you. Thank you, Lisa, for being with us and for all that information. We were hoping to be done at 7:30. It's already past 7:30. If you'll stay with us for a few more minutes, we're now to our public comment, which has doesn't feel quite like public comment components to it. But if anyone's here that would like 2 minutes to ask a question or bring something up so that it's on the notes for the meeting or for a future meeting, we'd like to do that. We also would like to give Bonnie Morrow a minute or two to talk about the recent fire, right? I think there were 2 fires, some recently, right? Orchard Park, and then Sharon to talk about some slowdown signs.
So I have some extras if anybody wants some.
Okay, done, check. All right, so Bonnie, let's start with you, and then we'll open it up to any comments, and then we have a few videos. Do we have any mayor?
Did we get any candidate videos?
Yeah, we have a lot of candidates here.
Okay, so after Bonnie and then any public comment, we want to give any, I'll say mayors to be, that are running for mayor. We have some videos, we have some in the room, just a quick minute. I think we're gonna time you to 2 minutes. an introduction. We've got a few videos that Rachel will share, just so you have some more information about who's running for mayor this next election. Okay, so Bonnie, we'll start with you.
Mayor, city council too.
Oh, thanks for putting that. This is Quail Orchard Park. It's up in North Timpview. And that's actually the slide right here. We had an arsonist come and burn that slide and it's melted, gone. And then if you look on down below where those white poles are down below, that was an earlier arsonist that came in and burned the ones beyond it. It's just not in this picture. The fire was so high, it burned the sails, the shade sails that were above it, and they're very expensive. And we're between that and the river being sabotaged that's in there. We've had graffiti, and then today Nathan McKay called me and somebody had broken a valve on the sprinklers and was shooting a geyser up. We are really having a hard time. We had another dog bite, off-leash dog, bit another resident up there. We're really having a hard moment up at Quail Orchard Park. So we would ask, and I've also heard that other parks are also having problems, and Orem is too. But this is a brand new park. We're just hitting 2 years. And so what happens is we're nearing 250,000 in damages. So what that means is that we can't, it just derails future parks getting built. It is gutting our budgets for repair, for worn out playground equipment, because obviously we can't leave something like that going on. And we had a little child that managed to get in where it was damaged and broke his ankle. And it's just been a nightmare. And so we're asking any and all residents to talk to your children, talk to your neighbors. And I like that walkabout where we can visit and talk and see if we can shut this down. And please go to your churches and people that you deal with on a daily basis or even a weekly basis and talk about it. The fastest way to shut it down is to shine a light on it. So we need people to talk about it. And if you see something, say something, dial 311 and just tell the lady that answers, or man, that answers on the 311 for Provo, and they'll take down that information and get right over. We are really trying to shut this down. Thank you.
Thanks, Bonnie. Okay, any public, and I misspoke, we don't just have mayor candidates, citywide, district, city council, so we want to hear from everybody briefly, quickly, but.
And District 2.
And District 2.
Opinion is.
Oh, yeah. But before we do that, anyone sitting here that had a special comment, anything you wanted to ask, you want to be addressed in a future meeting, anybody sticking around for that? Oh, yes. Okay, so Rachel, do we know who's here to introduce themselves? Can you help?
Yeah.
In an orderly fashion to do this?
Yes, so we will have actually Jeff Whitlock go first. We're gonna change the order a little bit here. Just some reminders on the days, the primary election and the general election. And then I'm gonna swing through these. Jeff has another event to go to, so we're gonna have him go first.
Hi, everyone. I know you all came for this, so no, I'm just kidding. It's great to be here. I'm a candidate for District 2, which is honestly just a tiny part of this area. It's like the Rock, you just ride around Rock Canyon, 2300, and just out a little bit. So maybe none of you all are in District 2, but it's nonetheless great to meet you. A little bit about myself is I've been on the planning commission for the last 3 years, and I'm excited to run for District 2. I was born in Provo, went to BYU and studied economics. When I was actually, I love Rock Canyon Park, and one of the things that just like made me love Provo and want to stay here with my family, and this Arson is not who we are, by the way. This is who we are, what I'm about to say, is I was walking around Rock Canyon Park, and I saw a little note on a bench with some keys on it, and on the note was handwritten, found these keys in the park, you know, hopefully you find that, or sorry, not the keys on it, just the note was on this. Found some keys in the park. Please call me. I have them. There's this keys for this car. And then underneath it would like, don't take this note. This note is for the person who lost their keys. And I'm like, that is so cute and lovely that someone took the time to write that note and make those keys safe. And that's the kind of spirit of neighborliness and love we have for each other in Provo and why I'm here. And so I'm running for District 2 in order to help our city with our finances. As we know, we want our budgets are stretched on many fronts. And so I believe my business background can help with that. I want to continue to preserve public open space and invest in our parks and in our natural resources. And I also hope to find balanced solutions for housing so that it's not so us or them when it comes to neighborhoods versus students. I think there's some ways we can protect neighborhoods and also help students and young families and our workers and teachers with housing affordability. So that's why I'm running. Thank you.
Anyone live south of 2620 North? Yes. Oh, there you go. I have one. My name is Hannah Peterson, running for City Council, District 2. A little bit of information about me. I'm a long-term resident of Provo. I lived in Provo for the last 38 years out of my 48 years of life. Went to Provo Elementary School, graduated from Timpview High School. Have loved Provo for a long time. One of the reasons why I'm running is because I have been involved in a neighborhood program for about 10 years, heavily involved for a long time. And I recognize that city council members have a big impact on my life. Their votes impact my quality of life, they've impacted my family, and I have greatly appreciated when city council members represent and hear our neighborhood voice. You should know that about me. I will be very loyal to the neighborhood and the neighborhood voice. Anytime a vote comes up, anytime you're going to have development, I am going to be very loyal and prioritize what you've got going on. If you live north of me, my professional background has been in environmental design. I worked for 10 years in Colorado and started my own business. And right before I left, I won the bid for an 8,200 acre development right up against the hillside. And so this project that you have going on is kind of exciting for me. My design was based on conservation and beautiful landscapes integrated naturally into the environment. And I feel strongly that Provo needs to up our game just a bit on what we plan. So I think that combination of my professional background and also my loyalty to neighbors and their voice and their quality of life is a good match for your district. Unfortunately, not all of you can vote for me. Anyway.
Thank you.
And then I have a video for Sally. Let's see if I can figure this out. I was trying.
Years as a nonprofit in tech industry, I did it originally to run a nonprofit called Humanitarian Therapy. In the 15 years or so, I got a lot of finance. Here our community members want to be for their city representatives.
District 2, all three of those people were District 2. So
Yeah, those were all the District 2 ones. So let's go over to the mayor to start it.
So neighborhood district is a little different than city council districts. Sorry.
Yes. Okay, is Eric?
I am.
Oh, yes, there you are. Okay.
Also, candidates, sorry, District 12, Hannah's the only one. I'll have the timer back here. You have 2 minutes, and I'll put up 1 minute when you have 1 minute left.
My goal is to take way less than 2 minutes if I can. My name is Eric Much. I'm running for mayor. You can find me on Facebook. Pardon?
Can't hear it.
You can't hear?
Hold it right up.
Just
to
hold
your
it really
mouth.
close to your mouth.
Sorry, I'm sad so long. My throat is
Closer
dry.
to your mouth.
Pardon.
You did.
So my name is Eric Munch. I'm running for mayor. You can find me at www.muchformayor.com, on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok, on everywhere you go. I have some cards with a QR code that has all of that information on it. You can find everything about it there. I've lived in Utah my whole life. I'm 55 years old, and I spent 42 of that in Provo, with a few excerpts to Ireland and Denver and Phoenix. I raised my kids here. I have a background in tech industry and in senior management, and as an entrepreneur in Provo, I ran Rising Crust Pizza. If you guys are from Edgemont, I don't know if anybody remembers that from way back when. That was my restaurant, and the Maxi Mart was there. Had a really good time, and I appreciate your listening. Thanks.
Talk about the Maxi Mart sandwiches in it.
Oh, yeah. Which era of Maxi Mart sandwiches are you talking about? Because I had the deli. I made that bread.
We're talking about the deli.
Not.
Got it. Talk about
With the
Maxi Mart
cinnamon rolls.
sandwiches.
That's weird.
Hi, it is really nice of you to stay. I'm Marge Judkins, and I am also running for mayor of Provo. I have lived in Provo for over 40 years, for about 37 of that down way west Provo. And I raised my 7 kids here. I have been very active in my community. I was the neighborhood chair and on community councils and PTO president. And then I ran for school board, and I was on the school board from 2012 to 2018. And then I have served in the state legislature for the last 6 years. I have a master's degree in public administration, and my unique background has given me experience and the opportunity to learn how to solve hard problems and bring people together. And I decided not to run for the legislature again because I love Provo and I saw it doing good, but I know that we can do better. And I'm very excited to be able to leverage my experience with the state and also with our local school board and my community to solve some of the problems that I see. And some of the things that I want to do, my priorities are to, our sales tax revenue, which is the economic driver of our city, has been decreasing steadily over the last 4 years. And we need to get that turned around. I also want to go in and make more efficient our processes for getting a building permit and a business license. I have a strong track record in bringing transparency, openness, communication, and advocacy for my constituencies. And anyway, I'm just really excited to have this opportunity, so thank you.
No, I think it's all right. Sorry. Hi, my name is Tajul Alman. I'm also a candidate for mayor. There's 4 of us, so that's fun. I'm not gonna really talk much about myself. If you wanna know about me, I encourage you to ask and call that number. Give me an email. I'm happy to respond as quickly as possible. The problems I wish to address are the lacking of city-owned enterprise, which we can use to fund our own projects and give back to you, which is lowering your costs of energy, lowering your utilities, maybe not even needing to raise your property taxes and fund other endeavors that we would like to. That's just one method we can use. Another interest I have is in making sure that our quality of life is skyrocketing constantly. Currently, there's a lot of complaints regarding just how the things look around, and I think we can put a lot of effort into the energy we spend there. Those are my issues that I hope to solve quickly. There's other issues out there, run bike walk trails, things like that. I intend to solve quite quickly. My stance is mostly on being efficient, effective, and honest. That's all.
We have a video from the mayor, so let me bring that.
Being mayor means getting things done, not just talking about it. In the past few years, we've paved over 100 roads, fully staffed our police department, and modernized our fire stations. So help is there when you need it. We've also kept taxes low by balancing the budget every year and built a strong service for the city for the future. Provo works because we focus on the basics and we deliver. I'm proud of the work we've done, and there's more ahead.
This, I'm not sure if Tom is here.
See.
So this is now the citywide council. People running for that office, and so Tom has, let me just read his statement here. If I can find it, hang on. Here we go. Since coming to Provo in 1982, Tom has demonstrated a passion to help improve people's lives. Tom has served in various roles in the community over the past 4 decades. Currently, Tom is a member of the Provo City Parks and Recreation Board, where he served for the past 9 years. He's a board member with the Dialysis Foundation, which assists patients in developing countries. As a longtime Kiwanis Club board member, Tom enjoyed helping local elementary schools. After retiring in 2022 as the Director of Vocational Rehabilitation and Adult Education for the Utah State Hospital, Tom and his wife Lonnie served as service mission leaders in the Provo South Mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Tom also assists students all over the world through BYU Pathway Worldwide. He has an extensive history helping those with mental challenges, including as a board member with Wasatch Mental Health from 1996 to 2022. When Tom first moved to Provo, he found ways to contribute to the community as a coach in the city's youth sports programs. Now he would like to offer his more than 40 years of experience uniting people through service as a member of the Provo City Council.
Hey everyone, thanks for sticking around so long. I think it's mostly just us other candidates, but it's really good to see you all still, and appreciate you sticking around. My name is Adam Shin. I'm running for City Council citywide here in Provo, and I love living in Provo. I live here in District 1 myself. I've worked here, or not here, but in District 1 for a number of our local tech companies. And my wife and I both went to BYU. We're excited to be raising our family here in Provo. I'm running because I care about Provo's future. Somebody asked me the question recently, what is your vision for Provo? And it's a question I want to turn around and ask you all as well. What's our vision? Where are we headed, and what do we want to see our city become? When I think about our vision and our future, here's a few things that come to mind to me. A city that brings people together across generations. A place that's welcoming for families. A city that is safe, that's beautiful, and a place where we are actually planning ahead for the future. So some of the challenges that we're facing right now, and I'm going to list out a few of these. First off, our economy. We haven't had a single year of economic growth in terms of our business activity, in terms of sales activity for the last 4 years. If you adjust for inflation, we've actually been falling for the last 4 years. And we need to get that business back again. We need to bring business back to Provo so we're not losing your wallets. Second, our infrastructure. I don't know if any of you saw over there, we had a guy in the middle of Center Street recently. We have aging infrastructure. Right now, we're decades behind on our maintenance. We're millions of dollars behind. We need to plan to get on top of that because it's only going to get more expensive as we wait longer. And third, our housing situation. The average home in Provo sold for $700,000 last year. Families are being priced out of the neighborhood. Renters are spilling in, and we've got to figure out how to get that back on track so families can actually have family neighborhoods for themselves, and renters don't crowd them out. I'd love to talk with you later if you stick around. Thank you so much for being here, and I'd love to hear your vote.
Hello, my name is Catrice McKay. I've been at the council for 4 years, so I guess I'm the incumbent for this seat. I love Provo. I grew up here, went to elementary, middle school, high school here at BYU. One of the things I love is meeting all the citizens that I've met. I learned that with knocking doors. I learned a lot knocking doors the first time, and it actually helped form a lot of what I've put into action the last 4 years. But I'm knocking doors again, and it's still fun to meet people and talk to their concerns, because you really learn a lot from that. I learned the most of the citizens. When I was knocking doors, I realized there's a real divide between neighborhoods, and it concerned me, and I didn't like it. And there was kind of an attitude of, we don't like this neighborhood or this side of town, and that was new to me. I didn't realize that there was so much of that. But one of the things I wanted to do was make sure there's a lot of communications. I realized also that a lot of the things people were upset about were inaccurate. And that was really interesting. So I send out a newsletter before every council meeting. And that is an excellent way for me to get to know more citizens and hear from them. I have like an 85% open rate in my email. And if you know about like sending mass emails, that's a good number. And I can hear anywhere from 10 to like sometimes 70 citizens from my email blasts when I send those out. And it's to keep people educated, right? Because a lot of the things that people get frustrated about is just misinformation or not understanding the whole process or the path of something or where things are headed. So I've always worked for transparency. That's really important to me. I respond to every email from citizens. I meet up at their houses. I walk their neighborhoods. I meet with developers. The more information I can get, the better. And I really, really enjoyed the process. In the beginning, I worked 30 to 40 hours a week for the first 3 years on council, which is a lot, but I was able to do that, and it was important to me. So I've had this learning curve that I believe I'm over the learning curve, and I've made the relationships I need to make such that I think I can even be more effective the second time.
That's it.
That's it. Okay. So before we adjourn, a reminder that our next meeting is October 1st at 6 p.m. But this is in the city council chambers, not here.
Yeah, the police have the room.
Okay, so we'll be in the city council chambers on October 1st. And then the last item is that I will be stepping down contingent on getting approved to be on planning commission next week. So thank you. My very wonderful counterparts here, their vice chairs will run the next meeting, I think is what's going to happen. So unless the city council says no, I won't be sitting up here anymore. So thanks for serving with me. And we'll adjourn. Thank you.